Welcome to Hancock's VMware Half Hour. And welcome back to another Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Well, it's a very blustery Saturday afternoon here in the UK. The weather started out okay this morning. I was actually going to attend to the bees and take those honey boxes off, but the weather turned a bit foul. So I thought, I know what, I'll come in. And this is a video that I've been preparing for the last 4 days. Trying to get it to work, actually. Not the video, but the software. We'll come into that in a couple of seconds. But the first thing that I actually want to do is to thank you, my 3,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for supporting Hancock's VMware Half Hour. We got notified last week that we'd hit 3,000 subscribers. So if you check out andysworld.org.uk, you can read about the heartfelt thank you that I've posted on there, and also basically just scraped some of the comments that have been left on these videos as well, and I've posted them up there as a Hall of Fame. Anyway, so moving on, and this video today is about something that Microsoft released last week, 4 days ago. On the 26th of August, Microsoft just slipped out something called VM Conversion Preview. It doesn't have a better title than that at the moment that I can see. It's currently in preview, and it's an extension to Windows Admin Center. Those of you that are using Windows Admin Center, then you'll know what it is. If those of you who don't know what Windows Admin Center is, then, well, fire it up on your Windows server. But for this extension, you'll need to update it anyway to Windows Admin Center version 2. Then you can install the extension, VMware, it just says VM conversion. But what it does, it will convert your virtual machines from VMware vSphere. At the moment, oddly, it only appears to support 6.7 and 7.0. I've not tried it on 8 yet. So if you've tried it on 8, let me know in the description if you got it working. Now, it has taken me the last 4 days to actually basically get the VM conversion extension working in Windows Admin Center. I've had lots of issues and problems, but we'll go into them, and using my recipe and golden nuggets, then I can tell you how I managed to get it working on this server. And we're using the Minisforum MS-A2 again, the one that's got the Hyper-V role installed. And we're going to use some of those example virtual machines that currently exist on VMware vSphere 7, some of those Linux machines, and Windows machines. So we're going to target some of those, and we're going to do a migration of them. And I'm going to explain how this migration works. Now, back in 2016, Microsoft did have a tool called the Microsoft Virtual Machine Converter, that if you do a little bit of Googling and you put Andy Hancock or Andrew Hancock at it at Experts Exchange, then you can see the articles that I actually basically wrote on, I think, what was called MVMC. Was it Microsoft Virtual Machine Converter? MVMC, I think, is what we shortened it to. And there was a 3.0 version of it. And then there was a 3.1, and then the 3.1 got removed for some strange reason. And then it sort of kind of seemed to die a death, really. And I think at that point, I think people relied on the Disk2 VHD has become a very common product to use to do conversions to and from Hyper-V. So clearly, obviously, Microsoft have seen the writing on the wall, and the hordes of organizations that are getting their renewal bills in now for VMware vSphere and seeing that they are becoming very expensive. And they're moving to Hyper-V. That's the only reason I can see that Microsoft would develop an extension for this. So previously you had disk to VHD, you had MVMC. You would have possibly seen a video that I already did. If you have Veeam backup and replication, you can quite easily, that I've demonstrated in a video, you can do restores to Hyper-V. But if you don't have Veeam backup and replication, and you are looking to do migrations V to V for free, because this is a free product by Microsoft, it does have some benefits in the fact that it can almost do real-time synchronization, similar really to how VMware Converter works if you're using the sync option, and similar really to OpenText's Migrate product that also does a sort of kind of a real-time synchronization as well. So I'll show you how that operates. I'll put the link in the description here for this particular URL from Microsoft. I'm not going to show you how to install this because it really is very simple. First of all, you need to make sure that you are running the Windows Admin Center Gateway version 2, and the download link is there in the prerequisites. I'm going to talk about some other prerequisites that are required. You need to install the VMware.power CLI. Now, this is where I fell into a lot of issues with the product. First of all, VMware by Broadcom have recently retired or depreciated version 13.x of VMware.power CLI. They've also now renamed it VCF.power CLI. So if you got VCF.power CLI installed on your Hyper-V server, it's not going to work. It does not find, it will give you an error message telling you that it cannot find VMware.power CLI. Now, you know, this is, again, this is a preview. The VM conversion tool is a preview, so this might get fixed possibly before release. So that's the first thing. If you've got VCF.power CLI on your Hyper-V server, you're going to need to remove it. And then I struggled with versions. There are lots of different versions of VMware.power CLI. And I could only get this preview working with version 13.0.0.208.29139. You don't have to write that down. I'll put that in the description. Other versions may work for you, but I struggled to get this working, and I had to go through several old versions of the VMware.power CLI before I could get this working. The other thing that you'll need that basically it's got links to is the Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable. Just click the link, just install. Visual C++ redistributable package for Visual Studio 2013. Again, just click the link and install. Now, the next big problem I had was the VMware Virtual Disk Development Kit, the VDDK, version 8.03. I had the VDDK 9.0.0 installed, and I couldn't get it to work with that either. So I had to download and use the VDDK 8.03. Now, it's quite interesting because in the last, certainly in the last couple of days, I've noticed that now we've got this lovely pink message that says ensure you download VDDK version 8.03. Specifically, other versions are not supported, and that's because I think that if you click the link, if you click that link that they've supplied, it does actually basically take you to the VDDK 9 zip, which you can download without a login. To download the older versions, so if I actually basically just select 8, then you've obviously basically got to have a login required. So you need a Broadcom login to get 8.03. So that's another thing that I actually basically found as well. So providing you've got Windows Admin Center version 2 installed, you've got the VMware Power CLI version 13, the one that I talk about. That's the one I managed to get working. All the others would just fail. Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable, Visual C++ redistribute package for Visual Studio 2013, and VDDK 8.03, which of course you're going to need a login for the Broadcom site. If you've got all those prerequisites, then you're ready to go. And I'll show you how basically this is going to work. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll log out tell you what I will do. I'll just big X out of that. And we'll big X out of that. And I'm just going to click the Windows Admin Center tool on my desktop. Obviously, I'm already logged in. I'm going to click the name of the server, which is MS-A2 Gateway. And if we go to the very bottom, now you will have to install the extension VM Conversion Preview. Easy to do. So I'm going to click that. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you to connect to your VMware vCenter server. And that's quite simple because you can basically just click the add button, type in the FQDN of your vCenter server, username, password, and you'll be greeted with a big long list of virtual machines. So the process is split into two. There's a process called Synchronize, and there's a process called Migrate. Now, if you have a little look here in the status, I have already taken the opportunity to synchronize a handful of virtual machines already. But what we'll do is we'll take another virtual machine and I'll just show you the process. So I'm going to use one here called Cyrus-log. And so you tick the virtual machine. Now it does actually say that you can do 10 machines simultaneously. There is a note that actually says here, bulk migration of VMs with a static IP address is not supported. Either migrate those VMs individually or configure them manually after migration. For more information, please see here, learn more. Of course, bear in mind, of course, that this is still a preview. So one of the things I keep, I think there could be, there definitely needs, I think, to be a change in the GUI here, really. But anyway, so find your virtual machine that you want to migrate, tick it, and then click the Synchronize button here. Now, I keep going up here and hitting Synchronize, and that does nothing because that's just a menu item. So you click Synchronize. Now you actually basically choose a path to store the data. So I'm going to just use the default that's offered there, which is program data, Microsoft Windows -V. Now ensure that you have at least the same size as the disk that you're synchronizing or migrating. I'm going to hit the Synchronize button. You're going to get a lovely tick here that says synchronization pre-check started. Now, it's now actually basically communicating with VMware vCenter server. And if you have a little look on VMware vCenter server, then you will notice basically that it's basically doing some snapshots. It's creating a snapshot. It's closing a snapshot as it actually basically starts to do the pre-checks. Then it actually basically starts to do the synchronization. Now, it'll fail at 1% if it does not recognize that you have VMware.power CLI installed. So again, going back to if you've got vcf.power.cli installed, it'll fail at 1%. The other thing that I actually basically started to find is that I was finding it was failing at 15% if it didn't like the version of Power CLI. So pre-check's completed and it's now actually going to do a synchronize. Now what the synchronization is actually doing is it's actually basically copying and synchronizing the contents from your VMware vCenter server to that folder on this Hyper-V server. So if I basically just have a little browse to program data, and it was Microsoft, I think I paid attention, Microsoft. Now, I think I've got that wrong, haven't I already? There we go, I found it. So just to show program data, Microsoft Windows Hyper-V, and in here you can see that we've got a Cyrus log which is at 4 gigabytes already. So that's the synchronization process. Now, from what I can make out, the synchronization process can be done with a virtual machine that's powered on, powered off. So it will synchronize the contents of that virtual machine. And then when you actually basically get to do a migration, it wraps up and synchronizes the latest changes, powers off that virtual machine, and then powers on that virtual machine or migrates that virtual machine to your Hyper-V server. So once you've actually basically completed the synchronization, so the synchronizations can be done at any time. One of the things I have noticed is that once you have migrated a machine, it's flagged as being migrated and you can't migrate it again, which sort of kind of makes sense, really, to be honest with you. If you've actually gone to the trouble of synchronizing changes, migrating that virtual machine from VMware vSphere, powering it off, and then migrated to Hyper-V and powering it on, why would you actually basically really migrate it again? So I already actually basically migrated a histogram, a Pi-hole here, and I synchronized these all the other day. So on the 28th of August, I'd actually synchronized these up already, ready for this video, so that we didn't have to really start basically speeding up and chopping and changing, really just watching a dialogue percentage increase. So we'll pretend that Cyrus log has been successfully synchronized. So then we go to the Migrate tab, and you can see here that it tells me that the destination VM has been created and the migration has been completed, and it was completed on 28th of August. So let me just start up our Hyper-V manager. So you can actually see the VMs that we've already got. Although you can actually basically use Windows Admin Center to manage your VMs, you don't have to use the Hyper-V manager. So one of the things I also noticed as well, that it did fail. Tell you what we're doing. Let's just zoom in. No, that's not going to work today. So one of the things I also noticed as well is that I had to rename the virtual machines on our Hyper-V server, because it didn't actually fail. It didn't give me an option to rename them. It just basically outright failed. So that's what our Hyper-V manager looks like. So I'm going to take a VM. I'm going to take Pleco. And I'm basically now going to say, now you can, I like the way that it says here, you know, it's a bit like it being at cinema, more options, brackets coming soon. So as I said, this is a preview. Anyway, so we're ready to migrate Pleco. So I'm going to click migrate. It's even basically saying to me, uninstall VMware tools, which is a nice tip. So yeah, I'm going to say uninstall VMware tools. It's asking me for a username and password. Can't remember what it is offhand, so I'm not going to bother. But in production, you would want to uninstall VMware tools. So I'm going to now say proceed, and it's saying migration pre-check started, running the pre-migration checks. Now, this is where it actually basically reaches back out to VMware vCenter server, starts capturing the latest changes here. Initial Delta phase initiated. So it's actually capturing those changes that have occurred since we did this initial synchronization. So this is very handy if you're in an environment whereby you have put a change request in to do a migration, and that maybe is over the weekend or that's of an evening. You can actually basically get all your synchronizations done before, and then on the actual day that you want to cut over and do your migration, then you can basically just hit the migrate button. It's going to go off what it calls the Delta syncing process, which is very similar to VMware Converter, the sync method that we've covered before in videos and articles, and very, very similar to the open text migrate option. The only thing that I'm not seeing in this at the moment is a schedule to do it, but who knows what Microsoft are going to do and how far they're actually going to develop this application in the computer. So okay, so it's now telling me that it's powered off the source VM. Final Delta phase is now initiated. So it's not seamless migration, but it's certainly quicker than doing a Veeam backup and replication, I would think, because of course Veeam backup and replication, you'd have to back up the VM, then power off the VM, and then do a restore. So there we go. Migration is complete. Destination VM created, migration completed. So if we now have a little look, you can see it's actually basically turned on Pleco. Pleco is running, and if we just do a little double click here, then you can see basically that our Windows server is running. Fantastic. And again, it's free. So let's just go back again and we'll pick another server. We'll click, we'll untick that, and we'll do Hoplo, and we'll do Guppy. And again, we'll do Migrate. We won't install VMware tools. We'll just click Proceed. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to do a running pre-migration check. It's going to basically start capturing those deltas. It's going to merge those deltas, power off the virtual machine, do the final migration, final changes, and then basically power on those virtual machines in our Hyper-V host. I'm going to take a sip of sparkling water while we wait for that to complete. And if we actually go back, so if we click virtual machines here, then hopefully it'll show our virtual machine inventory. So as I was saying, there's Pleco. This is the Windows Admin Center that we can also basically use to manage our virtual machine inventory as well. Again, it's also saying preview. So the Delta sync initiation phase is exceeding. It's powering off the VM on VMware vCenter server. And I was just trying to think, Guppy 1 was the old machine, so it's powering up. Let's have a little look. Let's just go back to Migrate. Powered off source, powered off source. It's doing the final Delta. And then we should end up with a couple more machines. We have a little look, synchronization option. That synchronization of Cyrus log is still completing. If we go back to migrate, migration completed, migration completed. So if we go back and have a little look at our virtual machines, then we've got Hoplo Pi Hole running, and we've got Guppy running. We could look at them in the Hyper-V. And that's the wrong one. That's the old one. And there we go. We've got Hoplo Pi running. So there we go. 24 minutes on how to use the VM conversion brackets preview using Windows Admin Center Gateway version 2 on a Windows Server 2025 to migrate your virtual machines from VMware vCenter Server 7 to Hyper-V Server 2025 with ease. So I thought I'd drop that one in your inbox today over the weekend. If you are considering moving to Hyper-V, and you are currently looking at tools as to how to do it, and are you stressing out because your cutoff date is looming with VMware vSphere and you want to migrate quickly, then I can certainly highly recommend that you have a little look at the VM conversion preview. Anyway, so with that, my name is Andrew Hancock at Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And don't forget to join me again at Hancock's VMware Half Hour for some more golden nuggets on what we do in our VMware environment. So once again, thanks so much for your subscriptions. You keep subscribing and we'll keep generating the videos. Anyway, thank you very much and good afternoon and goodbye.